y'all got ready to play there, and I realized I didn't put the right music out. You saw told me. Sorry about that. So, Palm Sunday, this is the start of Holy Week, and it's one of those weeks that is different from anything else that occurs during the rest of the year. It's a week that traditionally is marked with a time of literally fasting each day, taking more time to be with God each day during the week. Because this week starts with this amazing welcome of Jesus into the city. He was welcomed like a conquering hero. And by the end of the week, the very same crowds that welcomed him in are yelling, "Crucify him, crucify him." And all of his disciples literally ran away. You find this amazing shift that occurs. And I think that's in our lives, that kind of drama that this week is. I think it occurs to us on a regular basis. Times of enthusiasm in our faith and times when we just biffed it terribly. And then the resurrection. The amazing good news that we are forgiven, that there is new life, that there's fresh beginnings, that you're not stuck with being who you are, that God has a new plan for you. So this week is the start of that big drama. And each day of the week has a part of that story. I invite you to be a part of that as it moves along through the week. We'll start off with telling the story and read you from, in this case, from Luke. And it said, after all these things, Jesus headed straight up to Jerusalem. When he got near Bethpage at Bethany at the mountain called Olives, he sent off two of his disciples with instructions. Go to the village across from you. As soon as you enter, you'll find a colt tethered, one that's never been ridden. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says anything, ask, "What are you doing?" Say, "The master needs him." And the two left, and they found it just as he said. And as they were untying the colt, its owner said, "What are you doing untying the colt?" They said, "His master needs him." They brought the colt to Jesus, and throwing their coats on his back, they helped Jesus get on. As he rode, people gave him a grand welcome, throwing their coats on the street. So that was the best picture I could find that kind of captured that sense. Apparently somebody was there with their cell phone they put on Facebook. And that's probably what would happen today, wouldn't it? You'd have the whole thing on Twitter and on Facebook and all those different things. Right at the crest where the Mount of Olives begins its descent, the whole crowd of disciples burst into enthusiastic praise over all the mighty works that they had witnessed. Blessed is he who comes, the King in God's name. All's well in heaven. Glory in the highest places. Now some Pharisees in the crowd told him, "Teacher, keep your disciples under control." And he said, "If they keep quiet, the very stones would do it for them, shouting praise." When the city came into view, they did something else. Oh,
I'm sorry.
This is also the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. Wow. Then, if you would only recognize this day, everything that was good for you, but now it's too late. Let the days ahead of your enemies are going to bring their heavy artillery, surround you, pressing in from every side. They'll smash you and your babies in the pavement, not one stone will be left intact. All this because you didn't recognize and welcome God's personal visit. Going into the temple, they began to throw out everyone who had set up shop, selling everything and anything. And he said, "It is written in Scripture, my house is a house of prayer. You've turned it into a religious bazaar." And from then on, he taught each day in the temple. The high priests, religious scholars, the leaders of the people were trying their best to find a way to get rid of him. With the people hanging on every word he spoke, they couldn't come up with anything. So, that was pretty good spring break. He's been teaching, he's been leading, he's been moving his whole group closer and closer to this final event, and he kept telling them, "This time is coming, my death is coming, I need to go to Jerusalem." Kind of like we do when somebody tells us things we don't want to hear, they just didn't hear it. And when the final moment came, they all were kind of like, "Wow, he really meant that when he told us." But even at this point, they didn't quite get it. It was not unusual to go to at least once in your life celebrate Passover in Jerusalem. And so he takes the crowd with him. They head off to Jerusalem. They're clearly going there for this kind of religious pilgrimage. That's in the mind of the disciples. Jesus is going there clearly as literally God doing a site visit. I mean, this is God's holy city. This is the city of David. This is the place that God's peace will have spread to the ends of the earth. It doesn't look like it in today's news, does it? And yet, that's exactly what Jerusalem is about. And Jesus goes there, literally God making a visit to his home. And when Jesus, on the crest of the hill, looks over the city, he cries. It's for a whole group of people, you and me, and all of those in that city that just missed the message. How many times can you tell somebody? You ever have a friend that you tell over and over again, you got to stop doing that, you got to stop doing that, you got to stop doing that, it's going to hurt you if you keep doing that. And then they get hurt terribly. And you don't feel any satisfaction at all. It's like, oh, dude, if you would have just listened, if you would have just paid attention. That's what he did. He looked over the city and was like, what is wrong with you? I've sent you prophets. I've sent you the word. I've done everything for you. I gave you life itself. And you still don't hear it. I love the way the story moves along. Jesus sends his disciples, go and get me that colt that's in the little village over there. Apparently he likes Dodge, and so he wanted to get a little colt. Okay. So he's got this little colt, and depending on which version, it also came along with Mom. You imagine if somebody came to your house and said to you literally, hey, I need to borrow your car, and you discover they're saying that as they have the car started, and they're backing out the driveway. Really? You need to borrow my car? What for? The master has need of it. Oh, well, in that case. So I'd say clearly this is a believer. This is somebody that's been following Jesus. Who else would say, sure, go ahead and take my car? Somebody already knew who Jesus was in their heart. And when they went there, the other disciples didn't know him, Jesus did. And he said, just tell him the master needs it. Take it, it's yours. Whenever you get ready, just bring it back. And so Jesus now is kind of, I love the way the message puts it. They helped him get on the back. Apparently, he was not an adept writer. I don't know of any other place in the Bible except maybe when he was writing with Mary. So I don't count that as a skill set. Other than that, there was no other time we hear about him riding an animal. And so this is the first time. Why don't you ride this little colt? I mean, I've kind of whimsically thought that you could probably straddle it and walk along with it. They're not big animals, and so it's kind of a humorous vision. It's sort of a satiric way of Jesus coming into the city. Normally you'd have, the conquering general with his whole army behind him, the winner of the great battle. He's bringing all the booty, all of the spoils of war with him. All of his men are like, yeah, we just crushed the bad guys, And the general rides along in the front of the army in a great white stallion that prances its way in. And everybody screams and yells and claps their hands and throws their clothes. And it's really a great welcome. And how does Jesus come? Kind of the downside of that version, isn't it? Instead of an army behind him, it's an army of women and children and kind of a motley crew of people like us. Folks that you wouldn't suspect could take over the world. And yet God saw in them, he saw in us, something very different. He saw in you the potential to change the planet. He saw in you and me and in those disciples the opportunity to take a message to the ends of the earth. The hardest one to sell the message is minister. The easiest one to sell the message is you. Because your neighbors don't expect it. They look at you and they think, you look just like me. You're doing the same kind of work I'm doing. And your witness is powerful in the life of a friend, of a neighbor, of a family member. Don't nibble them to death. Just tell them God loves you. What a wondrous thing this message is. Jesus rides in and they proclaim, glory to God, Hosanna. Praise be to the Lord. And they literally take their branches where they are. And they're all waving them. They throw them on the path in front of him to kind of make a soft path. They take their coats and they lay them down for him to ride along. What an amazing scene that was. And there are all the good religious leaders, the people that know better. We've been educated. We know everything you're supposed to know. And what do they say? Those people are just, they're rowdy. Tell them, shut up. Shh. Don't you realize you're coming close to Jerusalem? This is like a high place. Good things happen here. It's like going to Washington, D.C. and wearing cowboy boots, you know? They just don't think it fits. Well, it's the way life works. You know, Jesus recognized who the real people that God loves. He loves people that just trust him. He rides in, and he doesn't really answer the Pharisees and the leaders, does he? Instead, he goes to the temple. And what does he do there? He shuts down the Starbucks. He closes up all the shops that they have. He says this is not a marketplace. Now, there are a whole slew of good reasons as to why he did that. I mean, it's blocking the access for people that wanted to get close to God that didn't know God. That outer courtyard that was filled with all those shops and the merchants. That was exactly where the Gentiles were supposed to come, to hear the good news, to get close to God. What happens when the church loses track of its vision? What happens when we get more worried about our budget, about our economics, about, what we're going to sell, how we're going to do this, our management of our... And if you suddenly do that, it's just like plugging up that courtyard. Nobody can get close to the Holy of Holies. Nobody can get close to God. Our job, uniquely our job, the only people in the entire world that have this job, is to tell about Jesus. We don't have any other job. You tell about Jesus by loving your neighbor, by caring for others, but our number one job is to witness to him. All the rest of it, God will take care of for us if we're doing his job. How did those disciples make it? I mean, even Paul would make a tent every now and then, but that wasn't enough to carry him. Everybody else took care of each other. Maybe even at the very beginning, before the resurrection, before his crucifixion, Jesus is already showing us the path. Trust in God. Let God's providence be there for you. So I looked at that little passage, God comes and he visits his city. If God came to visit you, how would he find your house? You got to knock on the door, and here's a guy in his little Dodge Colt. And he says, hi, I just came to visit, get a little status check. How are you doing with the house that I gave you? Would you say, excuse me, you haven't been making payments? Well, in truth, God gave you the house. I just get to pay payments for somebody else to have it. But I wouldn't have that place if it wasn't for God. And he's the one that provided the opportunity. What did God give to you? What has he provided you the opportunity to do? Where have you been able to touch others in his name? When you walk into your house and say, wow, this place really proclaims the love of God. And I listened to that passage and I started to get a little too close to me. I think Jesus, when he came into the city, he clearly knew what was coming. He knew what that week was about. He'd been teaching every disciple about it. He'd been leading them along the way. He didn't quite get it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is just intensity. You read any of the Gospels, and they all do the same thing. They tell you about the messages Jesus is just